Hi, this is Ernie again. I'm that guy who had 6,000 in his checking account to now having millions of dollars. A lot of people are asking me about where to invest. So I'm going to give you my honest view. If you have some industry knowledge, or if you have a lot of time and have the ability to do research on individual stocks, then you should invest in some individual stocks. But bulk of your money should be in index fund. And people are saying, what exactly is this index fund? So let me explain that to you. So first one, a lot of people are familiar with. You might hear on TV or CNBC saying, oh, Dow went up this many points. So what exactly is Dow? I'm going to show you. Dow is considered what we call blue chip company, one of the largest companies that's publicly traded here in the US. So you're going to see Amazon and Dow 30, most people know who they are or what they do. Amgen, the pharmaceutical company, Apple, Boeing, Caterpillar, Cisco, Chevron Oil, Goldman Sachs, you hear about them. There's Honeywell, there's a JP Morgan, McDonald's, Microsoft. There's the list goes on, the NVIDIAs of the world. These are one of the best, largest companies we have in the US. And you're going to hear a lot about S&P 500. I do this all the time. So what is S&P 500? S&P 500 are companies, I think, what we call cream of the crop. So Apple is in both of them. NVIDIA is in both of them. Microsoft, both of them. Amazon, both of them. They're not exclusive. You can be in one or the other. Meta, which is the Facebook. Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, that's the company that Warren Buffett owns. The Walmart, Visa, Oracle, Netflix, Home Depot. And why do I put a lot of emphasis on S&P 500? Because this index, even though professional money managers cannot beat them year after year after year after year. They might beat them like a couple years over a 10-year period, but if you do 10, 15 years, a lot of the money managers cannot beat them. So this is why I put a lot of emphasis on, if you don't know where to invest, park your money in S&P 500 fund, like VOO or SPY. And there are a bunch of other ones, even within SPY or even with S&P 500, there's a small cap, there's a mid cap, there's one paying dividends. There's a lot of them. But rather than getting yourself confused with, oh, which small cap, large cap, just put it in S&P 500. It just makes it easier. Another one, of course, there's a NASDAQ. And another one that I want to emphasize today is Russell 2000. Russell 2000 is considered small cap. But you're going to see companies like MicroStrategy that if you're in Bitcoin, you probably know. Carvana, I call this Jesus stock. It almost died and rose from the grave. So sorry for the Christian jokes. SMCI, you probably are very familiar with. Sprouts Market. Some companies, because there are 2,000 of them and they're very relatively small, you might not be familiar with some of these companies. Like Coca-Cola Consolidated, you might say, who is that? I've never heard of them before. FTAI Aviation, I don't even know who they are. Let's go down. You're going to see HIMS. This has been on the news a lot. Summit Material, this is quite popular too. What else? IonQ, if you are invested in quantum computing, that made Russell 2000. And here's a simple chart. Who performs really well? NASDAQ. But NASDAQ happens to be very volatile when we have a recession. NASDAQ will just collapse. But this is one way to invest if you want a lot of growth. Russell, this orange line is Russell. In a low interest environment, they perform better than the yellow one with S&P 500 or Dow, which is blue one. But if we go to high interest rate environment, yeah, NASDAQ still performs well. But look at the Russell. They are underperforming. And then, of course, S&P 500 is performing extremely well. And my personal take is I'd rather take something that's underperforming, because with Trump in office, I'm not supporting or hating Trump. I'm just saying because he's pro-business and he wants to lower interest rate, there's a good chance that Russell might outperform some of these other indexes. So that's where I'm putting my money in. I'm not suggesting that you should. You should always do your own research. But this gives you a flavor of what type of index funds are out there. And of course, there's so much out there, right? That's focusing on Argentina, China, the world market ex-Japan. There are so many. So if you don't have time, at least you have 4 to choose from. But if you have a little more time, you can go into individual sub-index fund underneath that's focusing on, let's say, semiconductors, that's focusing on consumer staples. Or if you are an expert in one field or another, then you can get into individual stocks. But at least this gives you a flavor of type of index fund that you can get into, knowing that there are a lot of companies underneath. So it's relatively safe. But just like my other videos have told you, if it's safe, your return, if you were to do options, it's not going to give you that much money. But that's the trade-off that you have to make. And as I mentioned, I think Russell is going to perform well. Somebody like Tom Lee, who's a frequent guest on CNBC, thinks Russell is going to do well. So why don't I go in with leveraged fund? I do not recommend people to go into this fund because it's extremely volatile. But what do? I sell calls last time, 46 contracts and 44.50. It expired, so I just kept the money. And this week, because I'm keep buying shares, this week I'm able to get 47 contracts to sell. I got 53 cents. It was trading yesterday about 44. So I made about 1.3%. I renegotiated my fees, like I mentioned previously about asking them to lower your option fee. So I got $2,500. Right, so this is a $200,000 investment. I'm getting $2,500 a week, $10,000 a month, just this holding alone. And since I don't need the money, what did I do? I went and bought 54 more shares at $44.17, which means if I do this one more week, rather than selling 47 contracts, I should be able to sell how many? 48 contracts. So this is how I'm accumulating shares, or in some cases, I'll take the money out to pay bills. But this is how I'm accumulating shares so that when the interest rate continues to go lower and when Russell performs extremely better, then I'll be able to exit out of this, and hopefully my $200,000 investment will eventually balloon up to 400,000 or 50 or $500,000, so that I'll be able to exit from it. Hopefully this is useful for those who are relatively new and also who are trying to figure out how to sell options using your index fund so that you could generate money. You could do this with SPY. Please like, repost, and send me comments. And if you have any specific questions that's very sensitive, you could also send me direct messages as well. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you guys either tomorrow or sometime later this week.